Hello, everyone. My name is Xiang Li, a senior lecturer at Arden University in Business Management Department. I'm here with two co-presenters, Jenny and Feng, who came from the same department. Jenny is a lecturer and module leader, and Feng is also a distant learning lecturer. Here's argument for the next around 20 minutes. Prompting is a smaller piece. The graduate skill we need to teach is a conversation around output, how students push back, refine, verify. Let's check the room first, and we will start talking about the theme by showing you what we did in the previous CPD session. But first, let's move to a Mentimeter question. On your phone, you can scan the QR code, or if you want, you can tap menti.com and enter the code 756271009.
Yeah.
It should be open up a Mentimeter question for you. It should be the question on your screen. How do your students treat AI right now? Okay, thank you everyone. I think very rich and diverse answer so far. You can see that some of the common terms like tools, like assistant, and we use AI to actually help me to group the answers. So we can see that there's a lot of assessment support. Yeah, that's a very specific use case for the AI. And it basically students cared most about the assignment. And study aid, yeah, I think there are quite a few similar answers like study to buddy here, proofreading, brainstorming. They use it alongside their study, of course. Ethical concerns, it is also very relevant and a very up-to-date concern that students sometimes do not have the confidence to use it. It's not all their fault. It's a very complicated structural issues we need to resolve together. And as similarly, we have some cautious attitude. They are not so sure what they can use, what is permitted to use, how they can to explain how they use, how they can reference this correctly. We can see there's quite a few different angles, different things surfaced from the answer. And that's exactly what we want to discuss today. Is AI more like a tool for students, or can we actually treat them as assistant, as a co-worker, as a peer in moving forward? That's something we will discuss today. And all of the conversation started from CPD session we have run last I think from the 2 months ago. Yeah, so this is a gap, not technical, not access. They have access, they use it. The gap is how they relate to it. In our cohort and probably in your students treat AI like vending machine. Drop a coin, takes what falls out. No conversation, no alliteration, no judgment. If we are serious about graduate employability, we have to teach the relationship as much as the tool. You can see from this screen, this slide, you can see the most students treated as a one-way transactions. And I visualize the relationship on the right-hand side. You can see what you will know what I mean. Whether students use it as one-way transaction, student do the prompt, AI deliver the outcome, or they can collaborate together. Students do their part, AI also do their own part. They are basically will catch up with each other's strengths and blind spot. So now I want to take you into the workshop itself. That's where the story started. And initially I thought the CPD session was the thing I want to present it. And after deliver the CPD session, it turned out it's not. It's just a starting point. That's basically the background about this presentation on your screen. I will briefly introduce the CPD session, but I will discuss something more than that, something I learned from delivering the CPD session with our own students. But now, let's give you a bit more context about the CPD session. So all of the ideas came out of a CPD session we ran for our business undergraduate at Arden's CareersFest in March. It's 90 minutes online and called Mastering AI Prompt Writing. The cohort also matters a lot. I just want to give you a bit more introduction. I just want you to picture it. So it will be year 1 through final year students, mixed AI confidence. Some students using ChatGPT daily, others opening it for the first time in our session. Many widen participation learners. That's a major targeting learners for our Arden University, and several metro students returning to study alongside work. So which means the audience was not a self-selecting AI curious crowd, right? A representative slice of who we actually teach. So here's what we taught. A CTO formula, context, task, output, 3 parts. Context basically explaining who you are, what's the situation. And the task is basically dealing with what you actually want AI to deliver. And output, more concerned with the format, requirement, restrictions, the length, the tones, about that. And anyone in that room can take it home and use it after attending CPD session. We won't go into too much about the formula we taught our students. What matters more is what students wrote before we taught them anything. We introduced 3 different scenarios for them. For example, asking for a day off from their employers. Also, we have a question about asking them to write a follow-up email to the interviewer. That's assuming they have just had an interview and they want to follow up with the interviewer, how they can do it. So we ask students before introduce this formula. And here's some examples what they answered. It could be just a yes. So, the student may not understand the question itself at all. And the second in the middle, you can see, ask my manager for a day off for a hospital appointment. Very basic, instinctive, the way most of us would type into Google, like a search tool, right? The third one, and this is before any teaching of the formula, act as a recruiter, list essential technical skills. It includes full role assignment, output structure, especially constraints. Same room, same scenarios, no teaching yet. And then we taught the framework and asked them to rewrite. So we can capture the before and after. So we taught the framework and asked the student to rewrite, and they did, and they each on a scenario they picked themselves. First part, role, location, format constraints, and see on the screen. The first one is I'm a business student. I want to know what skills needed for a marketing assistant role at HM. Give me clear bullet point skills relevant to the role. You can see the changes. You can see the improvement. Second card, the role plus tone plus an offer to consider manager, and it represents multi-step thinking in the improved prompt written provided by student. And the third one, they are literally saying revise instruction again until I get a good response. They came back to refine. And the last one, the fourth one, compare with good email sent for a day off. They're asking AI to benchmark itself. The improvement is real, longer prompts, more specific, more alliterative. So the workshop did what we hoped it would do. So that was something I was thinking that the whole picture of the workshop. And at that point, I was already very satisfied what we delivered. I can see the changes, students' engagement during the online session. But I had something in my mind. I did more analysis and more thinking with colleagues. So the deadline isn't the improvement. The headline is what surprised us in the room while it was happening. And that's where I will discuss on the next slide. So the reason this talk is called Human in the Loop. Several students were already prompting with very advanced techniques, even before we taught them the formula. That is something really catched my eyes. Better than they could already prompt very well, better than some of my colleagues, honestly. And Jenny was watching the chat throughout the whole session, and she put it in one sentence that stuck with me. So basically, a bad question equals a bad answer. She was right about the prompt quality, something we are constantly discussing as educator, and also we discussing how we can teach our own students, right? But it set up a bigger question. If students can already write a good question, what's the next layer of skill? So the question changed. If students can already structure a prompt, the work shifts to the next step. What do you do with output? Accept it, push back, iterate, verify. That's where the real graduate skill work is. The pedagogical center of gravity moves from instruction to dialogue, from the prompt to the conversation around it. Speaking of the relationship, I showed you the visualization at the very beginning. So what kind of the relationship is this really? So what kind of this relationship? Two or something else? Remember, we discussed this in the first Mentimeter question. Some of you mentioned the two, some of you mentioned very specific use case as a two, and some of you mentioning like assistant and something else, and like the collaborator, all the peers you mentioned in the Menti question. So here on this slide, I basically provided two different framing. On the left-hand side, the two framing, which is incomplete. It works for one-shot tasks. It breaks for anything where the judgment matters. The collaborator framing on the right-hand side matches what Ethan called co-intelligence in his book in 2024, humans and AI iterating together and each catching the other's blind spots. Listen to Dorena, she's one of our students. She landed as AI is a tool, not a replacement for my own work. That's where most students start. It's a healthy starting point. The work we had to do is help them to take next step. Let me show you what the next step looks like in my own practice. So here's what I actually do. Every time I sit down to work with cloud, which is my primary use of AI provider, on something practical, a draft, a plan, a piece of an analysis, I start with this prompt. I want to, I input my your task so that what success looks like. First, read uploaded files completely before responding. And then I have something else. Do not start executing yet. Instead, ask me clarifying questions so we can refine the approach together step by step. Only begin work once we've aligned. That is something unique to my own workflow, and that is something a mindset shift between a tool and collaborator. It is partly possible because what we are discussing here about the collaborator role, but also it's made it possible because of the development of AI. It has been significantly changed over years, not even over years, over months. Sometimes, for example, Cloud shipped more than 10 features within a single month. And the different AI provider catching up very quickly. Cloud impressed everyone, and ChatGPT catching up with a 5.5, and ChatGPT image and thinking model 2.0, and Codex has also catching up with a lot of very native smooth features. We can see that AI improvement itself made it possible. So the trick is right there. I'm telling Cloud not to get it right. It asked me first. You can see in my prompt. What happened next is screenshot on the right. Cloud doesn't produce a half-formed answer. I have to be. It asked me clarifying question. We agree on what good looks like. Again, I think it is very important. We agree on what good looks like, and then it execute. So that changed the work. I'm having a conversation with a colleague who has the patience to ask before doing. To tie it back to the workshop, the students who landed act as a recruiter on round 1 were already doing a piece of this. The next step is teaching them to expect AI to ask back and to want it to. As a summary, as a sign, I don't need the perfect prompt. I need one that opens a conversation. And it's partly possible because of this conversation, what I'm trying to discuss with you, but also partly possible because of the significant development of AI models. So now, I want to ask you one more question before the end of the presentation. If your students can already prompt, what's left to teach? It will be the same QR code and same Menti page. I can see there's quite a few answers already. Thank you for sharing your opinion, especially very specific ones. I can see the ethical, yeah, it's something we still need to evaluate carefully. I can see like how to evaluate AI responses. So we're basically focusing on the thinking, focus on the judgment, how to apply the subject moving from prompt to dialogue. Excellent, something that we shared same goals, verifying, understanding answers, how to use them as a starting point, not a final product. Yeah. Giving them a task, require them to use to create a situation that meets a given need. Yeah. But also you mentioned what's like multi-step thinking, multi-step goal, which basically also made it possible with a significant development of AI goals. For example, Cloud yesterday shipped I think they have a dynamic model, and they all have the goal mode already with a code X and also with a Cloud Code. So basically, you can tell them the final goal. They can simultaneously create 100 sub-agent to deliver, and they can make decisions and iterate it themselves until they reach the goals. But of course, we need to be mindful about the tokens they are burning, right? But yeah, there's something about that. Accountability, yeah, that is also very true. The role students should ensure the quality of their work and make progress with their prompts. So thank you for sharing your answer. So for this question, there's no single answer to, right? It's a question we are all working on. So let me leave you with what I've landed about this. So if there's one thing to take home, I think there's 3 short lines I summarized in the middle of this slide. Read the thinking, not just the output, and teach the dialogue, not just the prompt. Build literacy in lectures first. Okay, so that's all for my presentation. Here you can see 3 QR codes for all the presenters' LinkedIn profile. We can catch up and we can have further conversations. Thank you.